I am the Archivist, and tonight we open another forgotten chapter. In December 1952, the people of London woke to what looked like ordinary winter fog. By the time it lifted, thousands would be dead. This was not weather, it was poison. London had always known fog. For centuries, thick mist rolled through the streets, wrapping bridges, alleyways and rooftops in ghostly silence. Writers described it, artists painted it. The city even gave it a name, the London Fog. But what arrived on December 5th, 1952, was something else entirely. That winter had been bitterly cold. Homes across the city burned enormous amounts of low-grade coal to stay warm. Power stations burned more, and every chimney in London poured smoke into the freezing air. Normally, wind would carry it away, but this time, the wind never came. A weather phenomenon called a temperature inversion trapped the cold air near the ground and sealed warmer air above it like a lid. Everything London released into the sky remained hanging over the city: smoke, soot, sulfur dioxide, acid particles, and then the fog rolled in. It mixed with the pollution and became something lethal. At first, many residents thought little of it. London was used to fog. But within hours, people noticed something was wrong. This fog was yellow-black. It smelled of chemicals, and it burned the throat with every breath. Visibility dropped so low that people could barely see their own feet. Cars stopped moving. Buses were abandoned. Ambulances slowed to a crawl. Even experienced drivers stepped out and walked beside their vehicles, trying to guide them through the streets. Street lamps became faint, glowing dots in the darkness. Pedestrians wandered through the city, nearly blind. Some tied ropes between doorways just to find their way home. Inside homes, the fog seeped beneath doors and through windows. Curtains could not stop it. Walls could not stop it. People woke to find smoke hanging in their bedrooms. The air inside was scarcely better than the air outside. Then, the coughing began. Across London, thousands developed burning eyes, choking lungs, and crushing chest pain. Children struggled to breathe. The elderly collapsed. Those with asthma and heart disease suffered first. Hospitals began to fill. Doctors worked through packed wards. Nurses moved bed to bed through haze that had entered the buildings themselves. Medicine was limited. Oxygen supplies were strained. There was no quick way to clear the air. Funeral homes soon ran out of coffins. Some had to store bodies wherever space could be found. Farmers brought cattle into city markets, but many animals suffocated before they could be sold. At one livestock show, prize-winning animals collapsed where they stood. Even birds fell from the sky. The city was choking, human and animal alike, and still, the fog remained, day after day. December 5th, December 6th, December 7th, December 8th, December 9th, 5 days of poison. Businesses shut down, schools closed, theaters cancelled performances because audiences could not see the stage. At cinemas, the screen vanished behind the haze. London, one of the greatest cities on earth, had been brought to a halt by the air itself. People covered their mouths with scarves. Some stayed indoors and prayed, others ventured out and never returned the same. Because damage to the lungs did not always show immediately. Many who survived those 5 days would fall ill later. Bronchitis, pneumonia, heart failure, respiratory collapse. The fog did not kill only in the streets. It followed people home. When the wind finally changed, the smog began to lift. Sunlight returned. London could breathe again. But the dead were only beginning to be counted. Early estimates suggested around 4,000 deaths linked to the disaster. But later studies concluded the real number may have exceeded 12,000. Tens of thousands more were made seriously ill. Yet even then, some officials hesitated to admit the full scale of what had happened. It was easier to call it unfortunate weather, harder to admit that ordinary fuel, industry, and policy had turned air into a weapon, because this catastrophe had not come from war. No bomb had fallen. No enemy had invaded. The people had been poisoned by the systems around them. Public anger grew. Questions followed. Why had warnings not come sooner? Why was dirty coal still so heavily relied upon? Why had a city been allowed to choke? This time, the dead could not be dismissed as statistics. London had seen the cost with its own eyes. The disaster forced change. In 1956, the British government passed the Clean Air Act, restricting smoke pollution and encouraging cleaner fuels. Slowly, chimneys changed. Industry changed. The city changed. The Great Smog became a turning point in environmental history, a warning written in soot. Today, many know London for royalty, landmarks, and empire. But fewer remember the week when breathing itself became dangerous. The week children coughed in their beds. The week hospitals drowned in patients. The week a modern city disappeared behind poison. Because some of history's deadliest disasters arrive without gunfire, without flames, without a sound. They drift in quietly. They enter through the lungs. And by the time they are recognized, it is already too late. I am the Archivist, and the past remembers. If you enjoy forgotten history and stories the world should never forget, subscribe and join me for the next chapter.